Did you think of moving away? Oh no, then again, San Francisco. At last, the cult of Frisco!
Oh, it got that out of the way though, right? So hopefully.
Yes. Well, no, and then as you turned off the call, my computer shut itself down.
Hey, that works.
Fuck you.
So, take 2. Welcome to the Cult of Frisco podcast. Christmas year-end special edition. My name is GHarry Beekler. I'm the host, talking to you from San Francisco, California, and I'm with my co-host and best friend, Harry Maldonado. Good evening, Harry, from New York.
Woo-hoo, greetings from Brooklyn now.
Brooklyn, from Astoria, right, to Brooklyn. Is that a move up?
From Astoria to Brooklyn.
Are you moving on up?
I don't know. Well,
to the east side?
Well, that's still decidable.
To a deluxe apartment in the sky?
Well, actually, I technically was always on the east side, because Astoria is east of Manhattan.
There you go. Well, you're east of here.
Now I'm on, exactly. I'm on the East Coast. Okay.
One of the late Christmas presents you and Dennis are both going to be getting is webcams. Webcams, high definition webcams. Well, it's because 12-year-olds have better video quality than our show does. That's hence, you know why? See the bright lights on me. That helps immensely, having light. I actually have I have a studio light here in my Doctor Who museum that I call an office. My Who cave. So if we're going to talk to our lovely audience out there. If you remember that wonderful song we had at the end with the Cyberman having a duet with a man loves a woman. It was actually me and this trusty Cyberman voice-changing mask, which I will not subject you to right now. But this is my own little handles. I carry it around everywhere, and we talk all the time. Harry, you know, I was pleasantly surprised with this Christmas special. I wasn't too sure. It was after, you know, it looked pretty, you know, it looked like a dark ending to last season, which kind of went with the whole series. But this was kind of uplifting. Dare I say?
It was a very, like, maybe this was the light at the end of the tunnel that was Series 12. Or not Series 12, Series 8. He's number 12. Because even when you look at all of this past season, there was a dark undertone to it. And then it ends, and you're just all like, God, this is, like, quite a downer. Like, he's had some downer moments, like especially when you go back to, like, you know, the regenerations, or, you know, when he had to wipe down his memory. There was just, the Christmas specials have kind of had, like, moments, or, like, these season finales have had moments where it's like, okay, it goes on a little bit of a dark path, but it always has that a little bit more uplifting. But, like, this whole series was just like, oh.
Yes. And it was a good O. I guess
it was a good O. Like, this, like we said, there were a lot of, like, strong moments in this series, from the writing to the talent, the relationship between Clara and 12 worked really well. And then having Danny as, like, not really a foil, but it was more like kind of a foil for Clara, because she didn't quite know what she wanted.
So yeah, and that worked for the season. I guess the only problem I had for the season and reviewing real quick was what's the motivation for this dark tone? You know, Stephen Moffat, for good or for bad, leaves a lot of things unsaid and assumes you're smart and you can figure things out. But sometimes we do need to be told stuff. You know, like Russell T Davies told you everything that was going on. You know, Stephen Moffat's keen to guess. He likes to keep little corners of the room dark, so you're guessing what's in there. And I think it's partially, you know, clever writing, and it's also not painting yourself into a corner. You know, it seemed like, though, at the end of the 50th anniversary special, and even at the time of the Doctor, you know, there was still Trenzalore to fill out. But I mean, he knew he wasn't going to die. He met himself, and I know time could be rewritten. But he has a new mission now, find Gallifrey, you know, and I thought that was a little uplifting, and they kind of put that to the side till the end, to the last episode, and you do see how much it means to him, and that's important to me, that he is still the Doctor who, you know, didn't kill his own race in the Time War, but still fought in the Time War and lost his own race now. And I think his total mission should be not gallivanting. I mean, you know, it should be looking for Gallifrey. And I think hopefully that's what this season will be, you know, start on that. You don't have to find it, but, you know, it's kind of like Lost in Space. But I think they're trying to get home. You know?
Well, there's that point inside early on in the episode where he's trying to get Clara to not think about the sleeper, little face hugger creatures. And he says, you know, he starts talking smack about Danny, and she slaps him because he's under the impression Danny survived. And she's like, I lied to you so you would go away. And he's like, well, I lied to you so you'd stay here, kind of thing. Like, so it's like they both lied to each other, making it seem like we're making you give the better decision, I guess.
Yeah, a sacrificial lie.
Yeah. They both gave each other sacrificial lies.
And I thought that was actually sweet. I know they looked at it that didn't, but I thought that was a sweet moment. And, you know, I saw a review, and I agree that, you know, and this should be, you know, it's okay to throw romance once in a while, but mostly the Doctor and the companion are a platonic love. And this was about platonic love all over the place. And it's really cool. And so many things were done right in this episode, and you know, Moffat showed himself. This is the Moffat that had, you know, the detective in Blink, that brought him to life, made us love him, and then mourn him in 2 minutes. You know, this is that Moffat coming back, and you know, at his very best. Especially in this episode, again, you know, they didn't explain where the bad guy came from, and honestly, you didn't need to. You know, it was there, and it was typical Moffat villain. You know, a third person perception villain. You know, a hacker. You know, a mind hacker, and it looks a lot like, you know, Head Crabs, Half-Life, Gordon Freeman. You know, for those out there, let's get a nod. That's obviously his kid was playing Half-Life, and he got the idea from the face hugging, you know, from a face hugger in Aliens, but also from the Head Crabs, which is this bat in a video game Half-Life. If you don't know, these head crabs like get on the people's heads and make them basically zombies. It just kills them, but it takes over their body, and you know, it's really gross. And I know that from my 9-year-old playing the game. But what I really loved about this episode was, I think it changed the tone. I think it changed the tone of this Peter. I think it changed the tone of the 12th Doctor and Peter Capaldi. I don't think we're going to get this dark, you know, so-and-so, you know, every episode. I think it's still going to be there, but I mean, at the end, he smiled. He was like a kid riding the sleigh, you know. That was like, I know some people were thinking that's a cheesy moment, but I thought that was a great moment. I thought that was a really great moment. You know, but I mean, my favorite part about this whole season, I don't want to speak for you, but I think it's one of yours, Harry, is like the supporting casts have been so good, so freaking good this year, and in particular Shona. And again, we have another episode of like, guess who the new companion is, and you know, and now I know I'm like prisoner of the moment, but I think Shona would be a great companion, you know, especially the opposite of Clara, you know.
Exactly. Honestly, all three, like Shona and the other Doctor. Oh, why am I? Ashley,
yeah. The one who ended up being in a works in a perfume company, yeah.
Girl, and Ashley was like, "Oh, I perfume," And then Bellows ended up being like a grandmother in the wheelchair, and I was like, oh, Bellows.
That's so sad.
I was like, and there was that moment where it's like, oh, and there was a part of me that wanted the episode to officially end with like them all getting coffee, like them all being like, hi, we shared this really weird dream, but it was that moment of would they remember each other?
It would be really cool as if they did show up over the series, over series 9 in some capacity, just like walking by going, hey, what? And I guess, and it was everything. It was a scary episode. It was a clever episode. It was funny. And my biggest worry, let's talk about the big fat red man in the room, the Santa Claus, being in it. Like, how the hell were you going to work that in? Right. And I love how Stephen Moffat worked it in for the adults and for the kids. And I love that there was the tangerine. I wish it was a satsuma. That would have been better if it was a satsuma. You know what I mean? The fruit.
No one likes the tangerine.
Yeah, nobody. If it was a satsuma, that would have just been a throwback to 10. To 10. But the whole tangerine thing, and and Nick Frost was great as Santa Claus. Now let's talk a little bit. I'm sure neither of us have gone on Tumblr, so I'm sure. Like, I even noticed it. Santa, when he's talking to Shona, he's all, babe, sweetheart, which is, that's how people talk sometimes. But with the whole, like, Muppets a sexist thing, I'm sure they're going to go freaking nuts for that. I want to be very careful. Every time I watch a Doctor Who episode, I absolutely love it. I mean, unless it's, like, really horrible, which is rare. Like, In the Forest of the Night is, like, the one I'm like, after I saw. But I'm like, oh, I can't wait for Harry to see it. So I'm like,
I think.
Oh, go on.
That one and Robert at Sherwood were, I think, probably the two lower points of the season for me. They're still good, but it was low of the series. Those two were like bottom when it comes to like rewatchability.
Yeah.
But also both kind of still carried the story along. So there were points in it that really did play off in the grander scheme, but just on an everyday watch, you're like, I can do it without you.
Yeah.
Right now.
I mean, even if you're like, I'm going to do a hardcore marathon, you're going to think about skipping those or at least fast forwarding to the good bits.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I haven't, I got the Blu-ray, haven't cracked it open, so I don't know if they put in the head being chopped off scene back in, which was kind of important. I guess not that important.
Yeah.
But if there's any first-time listeners out there and are wondering like what's important about Doctor Who rewatchability, you just mentioned rewatchability. It's everything, okay? Because this isn't a show we just watch once.
You catch things when you rewatch them. Like it's those little things that you may not catch the first time through. So when you rewatch everything, you're like, oh yeah, that scene's there, or it's like, oh, that's right, that's they mentioned it, or it's something in passing. They're not really like, because sometimes when you watch the episode the first time through, you miss a lot of stuff. Oh. And the show it's written so that you watch it a few times.
It's a puzzle.
It's shot and written so that way you get especially when you watch it like from start to finish. Like if you marathon through it, it's like, because if you marathon through it, you'll miss a lot of stuff.
Oh yeah,
because you're like, okay, so next episode, let's get through it. But then when you like just pay attention to a particular episode, you're like, ooh, did that?
Yeah.
Excuse me.
Moffat is, I mean, even if it's stuff that's not important to the coming plot, it's just like stuff to throw in, like, alien pop culture references, or tons of pop culture references in this last one. I mean, just more than I can count.
Exactly. When we're talking about the face huggers, it's like, you have a movie called Aliens. No wonder why people want to invade you all the time.
It's funny. I'm such an ex-editor. I was watching it over and over again, and I was watching Shona's list at the end, and it said it had her DVDs that she was going to watch, and on the bottom it said Throws Marathon, and I'm like, what? And then when it cut back, they corrected it, and I guess the end they kind of fucked up on. It was supposed to be Thrones Marathon, Game of Thrones Marathon. I'm all, this is I think almost 3 Christmas specials in a row where Game of Thrones has been mentioned. Very good, my other favorite show. But I posted on Facebook today, like, where I think Game of Thrones is a better show, but Doctor Who's my favorite. And just, I guess, to explain that, just because something good doesn't mean it's your favorite. You know what I mean? It's like Doctor Who's my favorite. Like the best part about it, what you just said, is it's a puzzle, and it makes the rewatching of it like cool. You know, and they have some of the best toys too, and you know it's something I can watch with my kid, and it's become a Christmas tradition, and it's because of Harry. We are sitting here right now because you know Harry was over for a Christmas, which was a great Christmas, by the way, and we sat down and we watched. The Widow in the Wardrobe, probably one of the worst. Not one of the worst. I mean, it wasn't a bad episode, but it just wasn't up there.
Well, I think, it's like I think the Smith ones, like Christmas Carol, was the best of his, and then the Snowman was really good.
Yeah,
and then it's like then it'd be probably Time of the Doctor, and then Widow in the Wardrobe. Yeah, for his, that's how I put those in order.
It was a good little story. And I guess it was a good, you know, it just after
it was a cute one. It was also, I think the other thing too is it was at a time where it was like Amy and Rory thought he was dead, even though Rory told him that he wasn't.
Yeah.
So he was pretending to be away, you know, because he didn't want to hurt, like, you know, he was at a point where he didn't want, like, what am I trying to say? Oh, it's that point with him where he just like he didn't want to grow attached to anyone.
Yep.
So the entire episode was Amy and Rory free until the last like 5 minutes.
Yep. Which was just a great. I mean, that made the episode. That last just couple minutes.
Exactly those, especially when you have, because I rewatched that last like 5 minutes, like I think Christmas Day when I was like being like, when's the special coming on? And there's a that whole thing where it summed up Amy and his relationship, where she's like, I'm not gonna give you a hug first. You have to hug me first. And they both played that whole thing of like, no, and who's gonna give him, because they had like a very best friend mentality. You know, he became her best friend, and likewise, like all his companions kind of become the Doctor's best friend.
Oh yeah,
so he's had like a plethora of best friends, because he'll even mention that like time to time when in reference to something, like in Time of the Doctor when Donna didn't get changed and that energy released her, and he said like, you know, you don't think I'd leave my best friend like you know, powerless.
Oh
to,
yeah,
like just to save her for like, you know, a brief moment of time.
And I think that's what's been the most different thing about Clara is like with Amy and Matt and the 11th Doctor, there was nothing they wouldn't forgive each other for. Absolutely nothing. They were just like, I love you unconditionally no matter what you do. Clara, it's still the same kind of love. Don't get me wrong. But she has a much different attitude towards it. She's a little. Amy had thicker skin. Amy was cooler. Amy was more confident. Clara is a flawed human being. Clara was hurt by the Doctor. Clara was shaken by the regeneration. Absolutely shaken by it. And then, you know what? It's not the first companion who was. But, I mean, I think it was the first time you had, like, a real, or like, if this actually happened in the real world, I think that's how it would go down, because Clara was in love with the 11th Doctor, you know, and, and the 11th Doctor probably was in love with her, but as soon as he changed to the 12th Doctor, that changed, you know, and it's weird how that can happen.
I also think it was the fact that, like, Clara to the 11th Doctor was this enigma, because he met her as a Dalek, met her in London where she died, and it was the whole thing where, like, it's like that he was pursuing her. So again, and it's also the mentality of, here's this guy kind of like all up in your business, and so when you agree to go on his adventure, you start to be like, oh well, you know, he came to me, but it wasn't like that. He was trying to solve the mystery that was her. And in that whole situation, she was starting to fall for him. Once everything cleared itself up, it's like, bam, here's 12. And she's like, oh.
And maybe that's what he was more into. Maybe he wasn't in love with her. Maybe he was just more in the mystery of her. Ah, see, that makes more sense.
Because the whole thing was he wanted to solve her. Especially, wasn't it like the journey to the center of the TARDIS was where she discovers that there's something that, like, he's like, where he finally tells her, I've met you twice before. Both times you died, kind of thing.
When and then she starts, when the the time suppression field or whatever the hell it was starts breaking down. Yeah, and she starts remembering like what the fuck, and that was a good, it was a great episode. But you know, I think we finally, for one, okay, spoiler warning if you haven't seen it. Clara is staying, which I was actually really happy about, and I kind of figured she was. I mean, I like they kept the mystery, but they're really big on announcing companions early and new doctors early. So I doubt they had I'm absolutely convinced this is her last season, and I'm pretty.
I wouldn't be surprised if they both are gone at the end of the
season. They're both gone.
Because there's that part of me that feels like Clara's end is gonna be the Doctor's gonna find a way to get Danny back.
Absolutely. I just have that
feeling. Like this entire episode, like the dream sequence with Danny and how he's like, I know it's a dream sequence. You'll only get to miss me. The rest of the rest of the time you live your life to the fullest, which was super sweet. Like it made me fall in love with Danny all over again with that scene. But I kind of was like, as I'm watching it, I'm going like, you know what? Like she's staying for another season. Or who knows? She may stay for like half a season, but she's going to be in this. She's going to be his companion for like at least the start. And I just have this feeling that her official closing chapter of her, when she finally does say goodbye, Doctor, and closes the TARDIS door, he's going to have Danny there for her. That's how I just have that feeling.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I
thought that would suck.
Expect some big announcements this summer, probably at Comic-Con. I think you're absolutely right, and I think they're foreshadowing the hell out of that, to be honest with you. And you're a writer, you understand that. That whole scene with Danny was just, the whole thing was great. I mean, I watched it for the third time today at the gym, and it was just to try to remember stuff. And
the other great moments of the episode came at the end, right before the end, when the Doctor's face pulls it off and she's an old woman, and he's like, and she's just like, it's been 62 years since I've seen you. That, I don't know, there's just something about that scene where I'm like, where she's like, I live my life, I taught in every country. Whereas the scene where it's just like, where it's like you're actually, where part of me's like, that's life that's life post the Doctor.
I was totally,
you've seen it with Sarah Jane, and there was a part of me that felt like, what if that was it? What if this whole time has been the future, and that like young Clara we saw at the beginning was part of the dream?
Yeah.
And then it was like, then you see Santa again, you're like, oh no, she's still herself.
Oh no, there was if you go back and when they're in the dream mode, they film the focus is a little off and the color is a little more rich. I mean, you can tell, and they change it. Now that's on purpose. That's an aesthetic. And that's a color. It's to show you each phase of the dream, and each phase of the dream is shot slightly different. Okay, so there were some scenes. This is why Moffat's a genius, because he keeps us guessing. It's like, was any of that out of time? Would he be so bold as to say the entire last season was a dream? Remember. The end of season 9, Moffat said this before season 8. He said the end of season 9, we're not going to see the ending coming. It's going to be the biggest surprise in Doctor Who history. That's what he said. So the motherfucker better deliver, because he is saying it. And I'm looking forward to it. So,
it's all been a dream, Gary.
Yeah. Bobby Ewing, like in Dallas.
Dallas. No, Newhart.
Oh, Newhart. That was best ending of a show ever. Absolutely 100% best ending of a show ever. Oh my God. So back to Doctor Who. Shona, I want to talk about Shona again, just because she was so freaking cute, man. She was kind of foul mouthed.
She was adorable.
Yeah. That's gross. I can't tell you what accent that was, but everything about her was. I love like her waking up in the messy apartment, and I mean, this is how clever he is. Moffat is. I mean, she wakes up in the apartment. You've gone through this whole adventure with these three characters, and we've all had dreams like this. By the way, we've all had dreams where there's people in it we've never met, or there's friends who are gone, or who are no longer friends with us, or we had dreams about I dream about my dead dad once in a while, which is freaky, but you don't want it to end. You know what I mean? You're like, oh no, and you're aware it's a dream. So I mean, I don't know. I've had dreams like that. And then, they get to know each other, and it's that time you spend together, even though it's probably within the 5 minutes, I guess that dream period was, they all grew close.
Yeah.
And we also grew close to the characters, and just through their actions, without explaining anything, you kind of knew what that character was. Like, you knew she wasn't a scientist. And when she woke up in the messy apartment, it was like, of course. You know what I mean? And then she's got a little checklist on it, and the little checklist is like, I'm going to watch Alien, I'm going to watch Miracle 34th Street, and my dad's going to visit me, and then on the bottom it just says, forgive Dave. You know, and it was just this little sweet moment where she like checks it. You know what I mean? And that's just genius writing, you know, and it's also hard to explain to a 9-year-old, like, what's forgive Dave? What does that got to do with fucking anything? He's so practical, you know, it's like, no, it's subtleties, son. Yeah, you'll get to know them later. Mm-hmm. But I don't know. There's something I really just liked about that scene, and it was just subtle. But at the end, and Moffat's really good at the very end of his Christmas specials. He really knows how to like get you fired up. And I mean, you knew she was gonna say yes, but yes, that last 5 minutes, like Peter Capaldi changed. He turned. I think at that moment, we got, now the Doctor and Clara are going to go on adventures. Now it's going to be the Doctor and Clara, like it was the Doctor and Amy. Mm-hmm. And I don't think it was up until this moment, until that moment. I don't think she was fully committed to the TARDIS. You know what I mean? Now she is.
Yeah. Well, it's because she had that. You saw that with this whole series where it's like she had those moments where she's like, "Fuck you, Doctor. I can't do this. We're done." Like when they broke up with Kill the Moon. And then it was like, okay, I'm gonna do a last hurrah with like Orient Express. And then she's like, and she says, "Oh, Danny's fine with it," but she's been lying to Danny again, and he doesn't. He's like, he doesn't know she's back on the TARDIS until Force of the Night. Yeah. That was the only thing about Force of the Night, was that's when Danny finds out she's been lying to him.
Yep.
And then it's like, bam, Danny's dead. He becomes a Cyberman. And that moment too, where he's all, I saved her. The rest of you were just like, you know, I didn't save the world. I just saved Clara. You just kind of, the rest of the world just kind of happened.
Yeah. No, which was,
it was a good moment.
Yeah, it was a good line. And I think, you know, Clara got robbed of characterization with all the transition, with the end of Matt Smith and the end of Amy. Yeah. So this year, you know, with all the speculation of Clara going, we've gotten to know her. You know what I mean? And people were not happy with her at the beginning of the season. I think she's won everybody over, including me. And we also got to know the Doctor.
Back to our very first podcast, we badmouthed her like no end, and now it's like
we did. I should find some of that.
Part of it was because of the fact it's like how it was her characterization. I was saying that we were so guilty of, you go back to like the first episode we talked about it, like we Clara bashed a lot of that episode. I think 3 episodes. for a good couple episodes, we fucking just we were talking mad shit about that girl.
Yeah.
But I think it was the fact that it was her characterization with Smith. It was how she was written with Smith, and it wasn't the type of especially coming off of Amy. We needed someone who was supposed to be super strong, and we didn't get that right away.
Yeah.
But the relationship he had with 12 was a lot more father-daughter, father-grandfather, like daughter, like it had more of a, it wasn't like a boyfriend-girlfriend, it was more of a father-daughter relationship. And it was like, and you know, seeing your parents in the light that, you know, doing shit that you didn't like, and storming off, but then coming back because, you know, there's that part of you that, like, you know, you're going to miss not being with them.
Walking in on your parents having sex.
Like, exactly. So I think it's like how they wrote her with, and I think it's also the fact it's like the mystery about her was already done. So you can, I think, let her be a character now. It's her, the whole Impossible Girl ended when she jumped into Matt Smith's time stream to prevent what's the guy's name? The Great Intelligence guy, I forgot his name.
Well, it was the Great Intelligence,
the Doctor's timeline. Yeah, it was just called the Great Intelligence.
Yeah.
That guy from destroying the Doctor's timeline, she's there to prevent all that. So now you know why she's appeared in his past. And so it was now that her mystery was solved, you can now actually do something with her as a character.
Yeah, they can go on
no
adventures.
Longer the Impossible Girl.
And I think
exactly because she's no longer the Impossible Girl.
Yeah, exactly. And now he's the Impossible Man. I love how she said he was impossible when she was elderly. By the way, can we talk real quick about how her acting when she was in that makeup was so good? I mean, like, she sounded, her mannerisms were like an elderly lady. Not bad for like a 20-something-year-old girl. You know what I mean? And she said,
she did a good job.
In the Doctor Who extra, she said when she put that makeup on, she was like getting treated with a little more respect and more gently, you know, and it was just makeup, but that was interesting, perspective. And like, no, her acting was, she should win an award for the show. She really should. She's that good. She's going to be a star. That kid's going to be a star, you know, and I think she saw the light. I know there was all the toing and froing that Moffat said she was doing, but I'm sure everything was planned. And what they wanted to do was like they had to follow up. You know, they had Matt Smith leaving last Christmas, so you got to kind of follow that up with something. So you know what's the era of mystery? Because it was just a really good Christmas special. It was a really good one, but there was no life changing. There was no like plot changing things where it didn't set the pace. It did in a very subtle way for season 9, and I love the title of season 9's opening episode is exactly what Clara is now. You know, it's not a daughter, it's not a girlfriend, she's the magician's apprentice. She is an understudy now.
Especially because they keep referring to him as the magician right there with the way he looks.
Yeah. You know, it's beyond a companion. I think at this point now, I think she's a doctor in training. Even though she's human, she's not a Time Lord. She's a doctor in training, which is essentially what all the companions are. But some companions rise above the other.
Well, and you got that a lot with this season with Flatline, when she kind of was very much like it was her story. The Doctor was stuck in the thing.
Oh yeah.
And then in A Death in Heaven, when she's talking to Cyberman and she like throws down like who knowledge, like she's like bam, mic drop with like, you know, with her little thing. And you're like, oh yeah, she's starting to like, you know, she has a lot of the she's spent so much time with the Doctor now that has the Doctor element.
I'm pretty sure what Moffat is famous for doing is we don't see, you know, with Russell T Davies, we saw almost every adventure as it stood chronologically. But remember when at the end of Amy and Rory's first season, they were just taking off in their adventures. And when we see them next season, they had been together for a few years.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, you know, I think that's what's going to happen. I think we're going to take a serious jump. I think like from the point of this Christmas, when we see The Magician's Apprentice, I don't think it'll be just right after that happened. I think they'll have been on the road for a few, maybe years. You know what I mean? We'll be on to finally, you know, like I was just saying, the stuff of legend. Remember when Mickey was, you know, talking about, I forgot who was talking in one episode. And Mickey looks, at the end, when the Cybermen returned and they were in the alternate timeline and Mickey decided to stay and he was talking to the blonde kid and he's all, there they go. The Doctor and Rose Tyler in the TARDIS, you know, like stuff of legend. You know, you don't feel that with every companion. You did with Matt and Amy, with you know, they're the Doctor and Amy in the TARDIS were stuff of legend. I think we are at that point now. You know, just to hammer it home, I think we are now back to the stuff of legend. Like, you know, like Clara's name will be known throughout the universe. You know, I think the Doctor actually, you know, they don't mention it much, but you know, after season 6, he was supposed to be laying low. But if you really look at the episodes since then, he has been. There's been no big galactic, you know, other than, you know, the time of the Doctor, I guess that was pretty big and galactic. Yeah. But, I mean, you know, it was up until that point. No. And do the Daleks really know where the Doctor is? I guess Rusty knew, but that's it. So, and I think, you know, I think the Daleks will be the villain next year. Oh, and they also mentioned, can we just mention briefly that because we are huge Michelle Gomez fans. Moffat has publicly said that he's asked her to come back. The Master is not dead. Like we said.
Oh, yes.
I mean, Michelle Gomez.
Because that was such a cop out if that was how they were going to get rid of her. I was like, really?
Oh, hell no. She will play she will play heavily into Capaldi's the Fall of the 12th and whatever regeneration. The Master plays into a lot of regenerations.
Yep.
Most notably Tom Baker's. And the Master took out the 4th and the 10th. Our two favorite doctors.
Took out 10.
So a wonderful, amazing Christmas episode that fired me up for next season. I'm now full on board.
It made me really. I'm now really more excited to see Series 9 now.
Yeah, this felt more like a season finale. You know what I mean?
It was a more fitting ending than Death in Heaven. Yeah.
Yes.
It was this closed the chapter much more nicely. Yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely. And yeah, we're Death in Heaven. I'm still looking forward to it, but now I'm fired up, and I'm like actually a little pissed that I gotta wait, fucking 8 months. 8 months. But that's how long it's gonna be. And
then too, it's also this season there were no breaks, so we got all 12 episodes in 12 weeks. And between Christmas and the season finale was only 3 weeks, 4 weeks maybe. It
wasn't long.
So it wasn't a long break. So now we're getting the official long break.
Yeah, and Moffat likes to do that. He likes to feed you a little bit and starve you. He's also said he likes to do that, and that's exactly what Game of Thrones does. He wasn't a fan of the break. The break was not his decision. If Moffat had it his way, he'd do Netflix. He'd drop all the episodes at once. And you could purge them.
Yep.
Real quick. How was your Christmas, Harry?
It was good. I did a dim sum dinner with a few friends, and then saw Into the Woods,
which I'm going to see tomorrow. What'd you think?
I really liked it.
Cool.
I enjoyed it. That's actually the second time I've seen it. Because my new roommate got advanced screenings for it, so I got to see it.
Musical theater. Hey, it's got a Doctor Who connection, by the way. It's got Craig in it.
It does. Yes. Craig's in it, and he's the focal point. Yes,
he's the star of the show.
You'll see a lot of him, a lot of his singing.
He's a great actor.
The cast is fucking amazing. Everyone's amazing. I don't know how much you're gonna like it because it is a musical, but it's a little dark. It's a little dark.
Melissa said Annie sucked. Melissa saw Annie and just hated it.
Well, we all knew that was going to happen.
Really? Yeah.
I
liked Annie. I saw Annie when I was a kid. Yeah. Whatever.
The sun will come out tomorrow.
Not for Annie.
Not for Annie. Mm-mm.
Not the girl who can't sing it. Yep. Okay, so it's Doctor Who. It's Christmas. So let's real quick. I got to show you. We finally. Harry doesn't care about this stuff. We finally got ourselves a Clara action figure right here. This was the Impossible Girl set. Yes, we got we have Matt Smith from the Snowman, and finally a 5-inch Clara action figure, which are far superior to this piece of shit. 3.5 for. Look at this. This is terrible. It's an awful action figure. This is a good action figure. Okay, bad.
That's actually a good action figure ever.
Yeah. Oh, it's great. Hopefully we'll get this Clara. Also, I want to point out one of the best gifts I got was the Time of the Doctor gift set. There you go. And it's got Peter Capaldi, Matt Smith, and old. So this is actually the first 5-inch Peter Capaldi. Again, crappy action figure. I can't. Really shitty, bad. Really good. Look at the sculpts, amazing. And then one last thing. This is one last thing. I was holding out this. This was a con exclusive. It's giant. Mm-hmm. It's my 50th anniversary Dalek. It has 8 phrases with the British flag, with the old Union Jack
British
on
flag.
It.
Yes, British iconic. Yes.
I am an Anglophobe. Whatever. So yeah.
Okay, hold on. I got this last year, but I don't think you've ever seen this, Gary. So let me go grab it real fast.
Go grab it. Let me see it. Will I be jealous? Oh, Gary, I love you.
So for last year for Christmas,
ever.
One of my I'm here. I'm back. You can talk.
No, okay, Clara was telling me how great of a podcaster I was.
So this is how much my friends love me. Can you see him?
Wait.
You see him?
Oh, you son of a bitch! It's the David Tennant Doctor Who My Little Pony. Which, oh, by the way, which was mentioned in Last Christmas. Did you, 3 words, sweetheart. My Little Pony. I'm gonna mark you, Santa. Bring it on, babe.
Yep, I love my time turner. I love him.
Well,
yeah, he gave me that and 3 set journals that were of who related journals.
Oh, who
I have not opened. They're just
who gave
my friend Jesse.
Jesse, well done, Jesse. Well done, Jesse.
That was the gift. That was last year. So yeah. So I love my Doctor Who's.
Yeah. I'm gonna rewatch the episode again, but I'm sad because we're not gonna be doing a podcast for a while. But you will be joining us for the Sutro. Hey, do you want to if you're up for it, I'll invite you now. We're gonna do a year end. Before the end of the year. If you just want to join us for like a little bit, or you want to put together like a little whatever, like your favorite things. I know What the World Needs is another top 10 list, but you know what the fuck? It's our podcast. We can do what we want. So you're more than welcome to join. I'm sure you're busy up until the end of the year, but
yeah, I go back to work tomorrow, and then it's like I'll be there for the next 2.5 days. And then I'm off for 4 days, and I'm back to my normal schedule.
Okay, why don't you join us then in January for our 1-year anniversary? And by the way, this is the Cult of Frisco's 1-year anniversary. Harry was not in the opening episode. It was my son, Indigo.
I was not in it. It was Indigo. You guys were discussing Time of the Doctor.
We were, and we actually recorded that on Christmas night right after the show. So that was And I'm actually going to turn this one around real quick. I actually have a Sutro watchtower in the oven right now, but this one's going to beat it out. So Harry, you won't be with us for the next Sutro, but the one after that. And you know.
Yeah, I can come to the one after that. Yeah.
Okay. Excellent.
Yeah. Once my schedule goes back to normal.
Yeah, and when we do Sutro, we will be doing a little planning, so we'll give you a heads up, like a few weeks in advance, like schedule it out and see if you want to join and whatever one you want to join. Then we'll give you our notes and stuff. So, not that we're going to get big, not that we're going to get big on planning or anything, which usually just reactionary, but because I like to bullshit.
Well, it's also too. It's just like it's just a matter of like for me, it's like, did you guys already talk about this?
I know.
Did? Okay. Yeah. Well, here's my opinion on something you guys talked about.
That's what we want to hear. This is unsolicited opinions about really unimportant shit, except for Doctor Who. We find this very important. I love the show. You know what? It looks like it's going to be going on for another 50 years. I mean, it's like it's just getting better. The writing's getting better. I couldn't be happier. This it's a Christmas tradition in my house. Thank you, Harry, to watch a Doctor Who episode. So it's outstanding. It's wonderful, and I guess that's the end of our season too.
It is. It's the Cult of Frisco season 1. Season 1
in the books. And you can always go back to listen to older episodes if you want to really do that at nerdrotic.com or on iTunes. And watch us at facebook.com/cultoffrisco. If you got any questions, of course, you can email us at cultoffrisco@gmail.com. And Harry Envy is a hashtag. Harry Envy is a hashtag. I
know. I was like, we're gonna say make me have my name. It's hashtag Harry Envy.
We also have a Twitter. Nerdrotics at twitter.com is our Twitter. That's our umbrella company. Which is me. That runs Sutro Watchtower, and it's me, Harry, and Dennis. It's the Harry, Dennis, and Gary show, and it's basically what was left of the old comic Outpost, which is no longer. The sign is down now.
I'm lost. Oh, it is.
Frisco!